Everything's gonna be fine. Oh God. Hello everyone and welcome back. It is a new day, a new sleigh, and a new video where I have something to say. And today I come to you with a new kind of review. So I recently read Daggermouth, which was an indie published dystopian novel that was recently picked up for trad publishing. Now, of course, there's been a lot of discourse about this book, particularly some controversy from character design, as you can see behind me, and allegations that it was written by AI. And I do want to talk about these topics, but I also want to give you a rundown of what exactly this book is about, especially for those of you like myself that only ever heard about the controversy and didn't actually know what all the hype was about. So in this video, I will be giving you the full plot breakdown of this book, but as promised, this review will be a little bit different. Not only am I pulling inspiration from Nicole Raffi with my Temu vision board here, but as I go through this review, you may notice some changes with your lovely host here, that being me. So let me explain. As I was reading this book, I was taking notes, of course, writing down questions, comments, things like that. And the first thing that stood out to me, and perhaps one of my biggest hangups about this book, is just how much these characters drink. It drew my attention, not because I think it's immoral or anything, but because it was by far the most unrealistic thing about this book. But then I thought to myself, you know, maybe I'm not being fair to the book. How can I really assume how unrealistic it is unless I try it? So in this video, I will be giving you my full review, the breakdown of the story, and discussing the controversies, while along the way, taking a shot every single time the characters do. So with the nature of this video, I do have to give a few disclaimers. One, I do not condone this behavior. Don't do this at home. I'm 25 years old. I'm an adult. I can make my own decisions. It's legal. I had Chipotle before this. I have 2 things of water near me. I am prepared for anything that can happen in this video. I have taken every precaution to make sure that this is safe and fun. Now, the ground rules, how this is going to work, is that I'm going to explain the story, and every now and then I will stop specifically on the chapter that I'm talking about. I will name the chapter, and I will tell you how many times our main character takes a shot. And this is either a shot or just like a drink, because she either does, you know, like actual drinks, or she'll take it from the bottle. And since I know the total, like the grand total number of times that Shadira is seen drinking, I'm not gonna follow her shot for shot. I can't do that. Once again, I enjoy my liver. If I try to match Shadira shot for shot, I would not make it past chapter 2, and no, I am not exaggerating. So I will be modifying the amount that I take. It'll be a sip. And for the deniability of my lovely viewers at home, my beverage of choice that I will be drinking alongside Shadira is this ginger ale. I will definitely not be switching this out with a different, very popular fruit flavored liquid that also comes in a green bottle. So yes, we're keeping it cute and keeping it safe by drinking ginger ale. I love the taste of ginger ale, and this ginger ale actually comes in a coconut flavor, which I very much enjoy. And once again, because I like being monetized on YouTube, this video is not meant to condone this behavior, okay? If anything, this video might very well turn out to be a PSA on why you should never pick up the bottle. Anyway, that's my disclaimer. Let's get on with the rest of the video. I'll start by laying out some plot background. So here are my characters. Some of these characters do have fan art. I tried to pull it directly from the author's Instagram page because I hoped that the art on her page would not be AI. It was really hard to not find AI art, by the way. You bitches are evil because you're filling up Google Photos with your AI slop. It pissed me off so bad. But I found some images. They're not all the best quality, but you know what? Who cares? I'm not even going to be able to see these straight in about 5 minutes. So our 2 main characters, we start with Shadira. Shadira is an assassin in the Outer Boundary. Both of her parents were killed by this guy, Maximus, who is the president of Newfound Haven. Newfound Haven is the country that these people are all in currently. Newfound Haven is broken up into 3 areas. The main area is called the Heart. That's where all the elite live. If we're talking Hunger Games terms, this is the capital. It's shaped like a circle. I'll put a picture up on the screen, but it's shaped like a circle. So it starts with the heart in the center. The first ring outside the heart is the cardinal ring. And then the ring all the way on the outside is called the boundary. So Shadira is a Daggermouth assassin. She reports to this guy, Jaeger. Okay, I put Aaron Jaeger here because it was a very obvious leap. And as far as I could tell, he didn't have fan art, okay? I just needed some comfort in this time. I'm also wearing a Jujutsu Kaisen compression shirt. The reason I wore this is because like all their fan art, like Shadira and Grayson, they're all wearing compression clothing, and I kind of wanted to join the club. I just can't wait till I look super jacked in it. Oh, that was my elbow cracking. Okay. Jaeger is the leader of the Daggermouth assassins, okay? His thing is that he drinks heavily and he flips a coin between his fingers. That's his nervous tick, I guess. Also in Shadira's world, we have Jameson. He looks looks like a whore here, but that's okay. So Shadira and Jameson are lovers. Jameson is also the leader of the rebellion in the Boundary. Then we move on to Shadira's love interest, which is Grayson. So he's a second son. His older brother is named Brooker. I don't have a photo for him. Brooker died before the events of the story. And when he died, it forced Grayson to become the executioner. Grayson has a younger sister named Lyra. In this photo, Lyra is standing next to Callum, which is her love interest. So Callum runs the entertainment district. He is like the underworld overlord. Grayson, Lyra, siblings. They have two parents. Maximus Sorrel, which is the president. He's an asshole. He didn't have any fan art either. Good. Fuck him. So I gave him Hades from Hadestown. And you might be asking, Kristen, why would you do that? And the answer is that I watched the Hadestown pro shoot and I was transformed. And then our last character on this board is Alara, and she is the mother of Grayson and Lyra, and she actually writes some of the laws for the Heart. So she's kind of girl boss, okay? Also, more world building. Everyone in the Heart specifically is required to wear masks. I was confused at first because in a lot of the fan art, the masks that I was seeing for these characters, specifically Grayson, was just covering like his nose mouth area. But I've also seen fan art where it's like a full thing and it just has like eye holes. So I'm very confused on how the masks actually look. I don't think it's a big deal. Just know that everyone has to wear masks and it's illegal for you to take them off. The only person that can see your bare face without the mask is your significant other, specifically someone you're married to. Also, every time they call it the mask law, I kept reading it as like mask, M-A-S-C. And I was like, ooh, everyone's required to have a mask? Okay. I'm sorry. The drinks have not even started flowing and I'm acting crazy. Anyway, everyone in the Heart is required to wear masks, okay? If you see someone's bare face and you're not married to them, it is punishable by death. Now, the idea of the mask is that it strips you of your individuality and your identity. Like, it's meant to degrade you in a way, I guess. So that's the background on these characters and the world building. So now we get into the actual story, okay? I'm gonna go beat for beat everything that happens. This is a very long book. I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible because I'm already getting tired holding this mic. It's very heavy. Like, it's putting an indent on my hand because it's heavy. So our story starts, chapter 1. Grayson, our executioner, is on his platform executing two people. These two people broke the law, and that law being that they're from different sectors and they fell in love. Love from different sectors is not allowed. So someone from the Heart cannot fall in love with anyone from the Cardinal. Anyone from the Cardinal cannot fall in love with anyone from the Boundary. We keep everyone separate. We, not me. This guy up here, this fucker. So Grayson is carrying out this execution, but as he's doing it, we get an internal monologue from him where he basically expresses that he's not too happy about it. Like, he doesn't think it's fair that these people have to die just because they fell in love. So he hesitates for a brief moment before he eventually kills them both. This like split second of hesitation is caught by everyone. Everyone notices that he choked. So after this execution, he goes to his father's office, his father who is the president, might I remind you, and his father basically scolds him and is like, hey, I saw you hesitate. We can't have any treason in the Heart. He takes this very seriously and he's like, you obviously don't have your priorities in order. You have to get married now. He essentially marries him off to some girl, I forget her name. And he's like, you guys are gonna take the vow, which is the ceremony of their marriage. It's called the vow. You guys are gonna take the vow. And then you're going to continue your work as an executioner and you're not going to question the Heart at all. Okay, break. So they go their separate ways and Grayson goes back to his apartment, but little does his father know, Grayson is not the loyal soldier that he thinks he is. Grayson has been secretly smuggling medicine and other supplies to the Cardinal in the Boundary. This is out of character for him. He's the executioner. He's supposed to be the epitome of following the rules and the laws of the Heart. My sister's been watching Love Island and she got epitome stuck in my head, so I can't. Sorry. So in this first chapter, it's established for us that Grayson is acting against his own beliefs and morals. He doesn't want to be the executioner, but he kind of knows that he has to. Like, he doesn't have another choice. He can't exactly run away from the Heart because like that won't help anyone. And at least in his position where he has authority and no one really questions him, he's able to give out these resources to the Boundary and the Cardinal. Also, I forgot to mention, this book is told in third person, so it does shift from all these characters. It was a little hard to grasp at first, but I got it. I got it eventually. And now we get to chapter 2, and this is where I start sipping. Second chapter, we shift to Shadira's perspective. So Shadira goes into the Daggermouth bar in the Boundary, and it's called the Wolf's Head Den. So she goes into the bar looking for Jaeger because he has a new job for her. And this new contract, the new person on her hit list is Grayson Sorrell. So in this exchange, when Yeager is giving Shadira the contract, as they talk out the details, who she's going to be going after, how she's going to get into the heart, all this good stuff, in the span of this conversation, Shadira takes 12 shots. 12 shots is not fit for human consumption, okay? I will give Shadira the benefit of the doubt because I think the reason that she drinks a lot is because she's been hardened by her job, you know? She's an alcoholic, obviously, so her tolerance is going to be different than someone like me who drinks maybe once a year. So with that being said, let me get my stuff. So you hold it out and you do like a... I don't think I did that well, but that's okay. So I poured out my ginger ale in this cute little micro glass. No particular reason. I could have had it in the bottle, but I just thought the first sip of the night should be in a cute little micro. Yes, it's My Hero Academia because when I was 21, that's what was popular and it was my entire personality. Don't judge me. This is all I own. So I'm going to start with this one. That's not as nice as some of the other flavors. I'm now gonna follow that with 11 cute little sips. Okay. 2. I don't think I can do this. Wait, hold on. Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on the alcohol. Okay. That was 12-ish. I think I miscounted on at least one of those, but maybe that's for the best. Okay. I love coconut flavored things. That was not my favorite. So we flash forward. Grayson goes to visit his best friend Callum at his nightclub. So he goes to talk to Callum and he's basically like, dude, I choked at my last execution. My dad saw, and now I have to take a vow to this random girl that I don't know. This chapter had me thinking that Callum was secretly in love with Grayson. I thought it was going to turn out that they were going to be gay lovers, and I was very excited for it. I have a section highlighted in the book with the note, be who you are. Specifically in the context that Grayson is telling Callum how he's going to have to live his life out being married to this girl that he doesn't have any feelings for. He doesn't know her that well. So they're kind of talking about the hopelessness of his situation, and it came off very romantic. For a time, neither spoke. The music from the club below swelled, muffled by the double glass, but still present, like the ache in his chest. Callum broke the silence. So what now? Now I go to my family dinner. Pretend I care about the vow, and try not to think about what comes after. Callum nodded, rising as well. And what does come after? Grayson hesitated. I don't know, but something has to change. Callum stepped in front of him again, this time closer. He pressed a hand to Grayson's chest, right over his sternum. Grayson could feel his heart pounding against Callum's palm. Don't let him take this from you, Gray. Not ever. The masks made emotion unreadable, but the heat of Callum's hand was real. I won't, Grayson said, and meant it. You're telling me they're not gay? Like, you're telling me that's not the club scene from Heated Rivalry? It could have been in another life that they were gay. Like, I refuse to believe that they weren't meant to be gay. I think they were meant to be gay. So later, he leaves Callum's nightclub. He goes to his family dinner, where tensions rise because Grayson brings up his dead brother. He asks his dad, hey, is there any news on the investigation to find Brooker's killer? So Brooker was assassinated before the start of the book. Rather, he was murdered, I guess is the right word. He was murdered by a Daggermouth, and his body was left in the middle of the Heart Square or whatever. So naturally, Grayson hates all Daggermouths, and he thinks they're the scum of the earth, and he wants to find his brother's killer. But Maximus is like, don't worry about it. Like, if I think it's important, then I will have my men figure it out. Right now, it's not top priority. So Grayson gets mad, and so does Lyra, and they have a bit of an argument at the table that ends with Alara getting slapped. Grayson gets really angry because he can't protect his mother from his father because they're both scared of him. Everyone at this table is terrified of this man with reason. So Grayson and Lyra get up from the table and they leave, and they unfortunately have to leave Alara in Maximus's hands, knowing that he will probably hurt her again. Then we flash back to Shadira. She is on the rooftop of her apartment getting ready for this mission. She is visited by Jameson Vine. So they have a cute little talking session for about 2 minutes before Shadira's like, hey, you're here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. Let's get down to business. What is the reason, you might ask? Fucking. Can I be so honest for a second? I didn't think there was romance in this book. You might be thinking, Kristen, there's a doorknob right here. You might be asking yourself, Kristen, how did you not know there was any spice in this book? Well, because every time people talked about it, they just said dystopian. I anticipated that there was going to be some romance, because of course, I didn't think we were going to see cheeks clapping, but that's okay. I roll with the punches. So they have sex for the last time before Shadira goes off on her mission. Jameson tries to warn her and persuade her to stay in the boundary with him, but she's like, no, I have a vendetta against the Sorrel family. I gotta carry this out. I can't let anyone else do it. So Shadira leaves without confessing any emotions for Jameson. It's very sad for Jameson because it's very clear by the end of this chapter that he is in love with her and she just does not feel it the same way. But you know what? That's okay. So we then follow Shadira as she is making her way into the heart. She does some like Mission Impossible stuff, like she climbs up an elevator shaft. I don't know if they do that in Mission Impossible. I'm just pulling stuff out of my butt right now. Anyway, she begins her sneak attack into the heart. At the same time that she's breaking into the heart, Grayson is working on smuggling materials out of the heart and into the outer rings. He does this by putting them under the vehicles of the Vera officers. Vera are the like peacekeepers of this world. So he sticks it under their vehicles, but as he's leaving the parking garage, Captain Mikkel, who doesn't have a photo up here either because I couldn't find anything, he is Maximus's right hand and he sees Grayson leaving the parking garage at a very odd time of night. And he kind of gives him a look of like, what are you doing down here? And Grayson's like, that's none of your business. I'm the rightful heir to the throne of Newfound Haven. Mind your business. So they part ways, but Grayson is very much on edge because should anyone find out he's doing this, he will be killed. His dad does not give less of a shit about maintaining the bloodline. This is his spare. He's down to the spare and he's like, that's okay. And the only reason he's okay with it, it's really fucked up actually. He says it later on in the book, but he's like, your sister has a useful womb. The idea being that as long as Lyra is alive, the bloodline will go on. Not very good of that guy. Guys, I'm sweating. This is always a bad first sign. Drinking makes me sweaty. So to blow off some steam and recover from the fright that Captain Mikkel gave him earlier, Grayson invites a lady of the night named Maya to come to his apartment so they can hook up. We don't get the nitty-gritty details of that exchange, and I have logistical questions about that interaction because I think Maya's supposed to be wearing a mask too. Am I wrong? I don't think I know the rules of this world because I anticipate that Maya would be wearing a mask, but the scene with Grayson and Maya starts with her, going down. So I'm like, if it covers your face, I actually don't know anything about the masks and how they work because we see them frequently drinking and eating with the masks on. Does it have a hole for the mouth? None of the fan art depicts like a good sizable hole. Again, this is not anything that matters. This book is not about the logistics about how the masks work. This is just something that plagues my mind. Anyway, fast forward. Grayson wakes up post-coitus and pre-nuptials. He starts the day with an execution. He's in charge of killing a woman who was found to be smuggling medicine and such to the other rings. So exactly what he's been doing. And he feels a lot of guilt about the situation because he's like, this woman is being killed for something that I do every day. It should be me on this platform. And this chapter flips back and forth between Shadira and Grayson, where she's in a position where she's like, she has a sniper. She sees him in her scope, but she's like, this would be too easy. I need to kill you up close and personal. So she doesn't take the shot. Following the execution, Grayson goes over to complete his vow ceremony. He goes to this room and waits for his betrothed. While he is there waiting and dreading the situation, he doesn't know, but Shadira is in the vents above him and she's watching him, but she makes the fatal mistake of moving slightly, so the vents creak. He hears it and she's like, fuck it, we ball. So she drops from the vents right onto him. They have a scuffle and he has her like pinned on the altar in this vow ceremony room. But Shadira, she's not the best Daggermouth in the boundary for nothing. She pulls out a Vera issued gun from her little side holster. This was a specialty gun that she brought with her specifically for this execution because she thought it would be harder for them to track her down if he was shot with other officially licensed merch. That's not the right word I want to use for that, but that's what we're going with. So while she's pinned, Shadira pulls out the gun and shoots Grayson in the stomach. He goes back and she forces him down onto his knees, much in the same position that he forces the people that he executes into. And she's like, okay, you're gonna look into my eyes as I kill you. And he's like, you know what? I deserve this. So Grayson does something extremely unexpected. And as he is on his knees and Shadira's about to kill him, he takes off his mask. Now, the reason he does this is because when Grayson executes people on that little platform, they all have to take off their masks. It's seen as like the greatest shame for people to see your face on that platform. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna be executed at your hands. Let me take off the mask. So he does, and it freaks her out so much that she hesitates. And that moment of hesitation is enough time for Maximus, Alara, Lyra, and his betrothed and all the other Vera officers to barge in on them. Everyone runs into the room. Shadira is quickly... What's the word I'm looking at? My tummy hurts. Guys, I feel it like in the pit of my stomach. So everyone rushes into this room. Shadira is quickly subdued. That's the word I'm looking for. And Grayson is rushed off to a hospital to seek medical care. He was still shot in the stomach. He's bleeding rather excessively. Maximus, Alara, and Lyra are doing damage control with the Daunt family. That's the family of the girl that Grayson was supposed to marry in the vow ceremony. So the reason everyone's upset is because Grayson took off his mask for Shadira. And they basically imply, the Daunt family, that since Grayson took off his mask, that he should be put to death. Since that is the law, that's what it states. Maximus is like, this is my last heir. I can't kill him, even though he doesn't really seem to have that many qualms about it. So Alara brings up a clause in the mask law, which is that if someone sees your unmasked face, you could either be put to death or, ready, drum roll please, or you could get married to them. Listen. If there's one thing I don't like, it's an arranged marriage. So Alara tells Maximus that the only way that they can keep Grayson alive is if they marry him off to Shadira, since she saw his bare face. And at first, I'm reading this and I'm like, I don't really like that this is happening. Maximus is portrayed to us as a man that is above the law, like he is the law. He's very ruthless. So the idea that he has to conform to a law that was written by his wife, it's kind of poetic. So the deal is set. Grayson is going to marry Shadira. At this point in the story, neither of them know that this is going to happen. We go back to Shadira. She is currently in a holding cell after she was captured trying to kill Grayson. So she's with a whole bunch of other prisoners that have been imprisoned for a myriad of reasons. And it's all like low level stuff. Like I think there's a teenager or something that was in there for stealing bread. They're all tattooed with their crimes. Like I guess their crimes are assigned a number. And Shadira has a number that essentially sets her apart from the other prisoners. Like she's in county jail and she's the only felon. So everyone finds out that she tried to kill Grayson Sorrell, the executioner, and she immediately gets a lot of respect from the other prisoners. They all look up to her. All these prisoners are now energized with the spirit of rebellion, but Shadira is trying to convince them that she didn't do it for rebellion. She did it for a check. Not even that, she did it for a personal vendetta. But she's like, guys, I didn't do this for your rebellion. But they don't care. She is now a symbol for them. The guards eventually take Shadira to go meet with Maximus and Grayson. But as they're taking her away, they start beating her up. And this incites a riot with the prisoners because they're like, hey, don't touch her. She's our Mockingjay. So they start a mini riot. And the officers, the Vera officers, end up shooting all the prisoners, almost all of them. Shadira pleads for them to leave the prisoners alone. And she basically says, like, if you're going to hurt anyone, hurt me. She tries to put herself in the line of fire. She even tries to take down some of the Vera guards and successfully, I think, kills 2 of them. She doesn't go down without a fight. Let's just say that. But she carries a lot of guilt knowing that a lot of prisoners, especially the young teenager that was accused of stealing, she got him killed. So she feels a lot of guilt after this situation. Shadira is then taken to go see Maximus. At the same time, Grayson wakes up in the hospital. This is now 3 days later, 3 days after the attempted assassination. He's then immediately summoned to Maximus's office in the towers, the New Haven Towers. Also, side note, I posted a little thread because when I started the book, they refer to these towers as the Twin Towers, not like capital T, the Twin Towers. I'll put the line, but they essentially describe them as Twin Towers. And I was like, oh my gosh, isn't that so funny? Like the first time I read this, like I immediately thought, the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. Haha, isn't that so funny? And everyone's like, you know the Twin Towers doesn't just mean the World Trade Center? Yes, I know that. But you knew what I was talking about. I didn't even say the World Trade Center, and you knew exactly what I meant. I hate that us as a society and the fucking internet, like, we've come to consensus that everyone has to say something. We can't just fucking agree to laugh about something. Like, fuck, I was just making a statement. It was just supposed to be like, oh, haha, yeah, that was what I thought too, but, you know, it's completely different. Like, isn't that so funny, though, that we all had that collective moment where we thought it was the Twin Towers? Oh my god. Sorry, I was like really holding that in, and then it's just been amplified by my 12 sips. Anyway, Grayson eventually meets Shadira and Maximus in his office, and he tells them that they now need to get married. They obviously protest. They hate each other. She tried to kill him. There is no way that he's going to want to marry her. And Maximus is like, okay, well, you could both die. That's an option. Or worse, I could kill everyone you love. Maximus not only threatens Jameson and the outer rings, he also threatens Lyra and Alara, his wife and daughter. So eventually they're like, okay, well, for the sake of our loved ones, I guess we have to get married. And to start off their happy union, they have to live together up until the ceremony that's going to take place in about a week's time. So we get that bombshell. Then we flash over to Jameson. At this point in time, he is currently leaving the clinic in the Boundary when he notices that a drone is following him. Eventually, a second one also starts following him, and he catches onto it pretty quickly and is somehow able to take them both down. He takes them apart and takes the wreckage over to the Wolf's Head den and meets up with Jaeger. So Jameson is like, hey, something is wrong. I was just followed by heart drones, like not casually surveilling me, you know? These were trying to kill me. And Jaeger tells Jameson that the mission went wrong and Shadira is now in the hands of the heart. Jaeger tells Jameson that Shadira has become the symbol of revolution because back in the cell, right, she tells everyone that she tried to kill the executioner. Everyone starts rallying behind her. Not only that, I forgot to mention, in the prison cells, the other prisoners start singing the national anthem of the world before. Like, I pictured these prisoners disheveled, malnourished, like grime covering them, and then all of a sudden they just go, and the rocket's red glare. I know that the past of Newfound Haven doesn't necessarily have to be the US, but is that the first thing that I thought of? Yes! I don't know what this anthem is, but the prisoners start singing it, and it becomes like the Hanging Tree song equivalent of this revolution. So word starts spreading of Shadira's little rebellion in the prison cell, which I'm a little confused because it seemed like most of the prisoners died, and even if they didn't, they're all still in the heart. So how word was able to travel outside the heart, I don't really know, but we're gonna extend the benefit of the doubt. Jaeger then reveals that he has plans of using Shadira as a symbol for the revolution. He is essentially Plutarch using her as the Mockingjay. Jameson is not very happy about this. He is obviously in love with Shadira, and he tells Jaeger that they have to extract her from the heart. Jaeger agrees, but asks Jameson to give him 3 days time to get more intel so that they don't go into the heart blind. We go back to Shadira and Grayson. They now go to his apartment together. Grayson is followed by Captain Mikkel and the other Veyragard, and they are basically sweeping his apartment for any suspicious activity or listening devices that may have been planted by the Daggermouths. Grayson freaks out a little bit because he is hiding contraband in his apartment. This part confused me because he's talking about the medicine that he's been smuggling to the Cardinal in the Boundary, and the medicine has a Sorrel serial number on it. Basically, he wrote his fucking name on it. You are a big bad assassin executioner guy. You mean to tell me you didn't file the serial numbers off? That wasn't task number 1 in smuggling contraband out of the heart? I'm confused why it has a fucking serial number that is unique to a specific person. That confused the hell out of me. But again, we'll extend the benefit of the doubt. And here's where we get to more drinking. The Veyragard eventually leave Grayson and Shadira alone. Why they leave him alone with the person that tried to kill him? I don't know. Well, I do know. It becomes more evident later, but it's a spoiler, so I won't say. And regardless, he's the executioner. He can handle himself. He's fine. Grayson takes a personal sweeping device that he has and starts scanning his apartment for listening devices that were planted by the Veyra, because he knows that they are going to surveil the both of them. As he is sweeping his apartment for devices, Shadira starts drinking. They eventually get into a brawl where he almost kills her, like chokes her out, but they are interrupted by his butler named it's not Chandler. Charlie. Chuck. Alfred. Okay, let's call him Alfred. His butler eventually interrupts the two of them, and then they stop killing each other. So let's look at that chapter real quick. In this chapter, titled My Sweet Little Heir. No, what is it called? Yep, My Sweet Spineless Heir. Close enough. In this chapter, Shadira drinks an additional 4 times. Because I respect you so much, I'm gonna turn away while I do this. Blame it on the alcohol. That was 4 times. I don't know what it's saying that this starts tasting better the more you drink it. Continuing on. After Shadira and Grayson are broken up from their fight, Shadira goes into the bathroom to tend to her wounds. I'm going to point out this scene specifically because it does get juxtaposed later on in the book. So Shadira's in the bathroom by herself and she's like popping all her bones back in place. And the moment is really painful for her because she's just remembering the moment in the prison and getting all those people killed. The chapter is titled Daggermouths Don't Cry, and this is the first time that we see Shadira really expressing emotion, and she kind of breaks down for the first time in the privacy of this bathroom where no one else can see her. I think it's a really good vulnerable moment for a character that up until this point has been all hard exterior. Like, she's even putting up walls with Jameson, her love interest. Like, she can't even relax while they're having sex. So to see her finally break emotionally in this moment while she's trapped by the enemy and really showing the true fear that she has, it was really impactful for the character in this point in time. And believe it or not, I'm saying that 16 sips into my drink. So Shadira goes to bed for the night. The next morning she wakes up, and as she's looking out of Grayson's apartment window, she sees that he is on the execution platform once again, killing another person. She gets so angry by this development that she breaks into his room and tries to find anything that she can fight against him with, I guess like a weapon. She's looking for a weapon. So she breaks into his room, finds some medical documents about injuries he sustained in the past that were filed away as training accidents. She also finds a photograph of Grayson and an unidentified other person without their masks on. As we remember, this is taboo and illegal. So she hides the photo away to use as evidence for another day. Grayson finds Shadira in his room and is a little endeared that she broke in despite all the security measures that were on his door. So they start talking about the morality of their jobs because he's an executioner and she's an assassin. They both kill people. But she's like, well, I kill people for my own reasons, contracts, you know, I kill the bad people. You kill because your daddy said so. As they're having this conversation, Shadira drinks an additional, let me look it up. So Shadira brings the bottle with her as she's breaking into his room and drinks an additional 2 times. So I'm also going to give Shadira the benefit of the doubt that there's a lot of days in between when she's drinking. She's not doing this back to back like I am. So if by the end of this video, I look weird, maybe that's why. And maybe I can't judge her, you know? Yes, so they have a conversation about the morality of killing, and it ends with him getting so pissed at her that he's like, Shadira, if you talk to me again, if you open your mouth, I will kill you. Please leave. Next chapter is a very important plot chapter. We go to Callum's perspective. He is in the middle of torturing some guy because, as I mentioned, he has his own nightclub. He is the head of the entertainment district and he oversees a bunch of girls, you know, ladies of the night. He is beating up some dude named, it starts with a D and I just can't remember, like Dachshund. No, not Dachshund. I don't remember. Anyway, guys, I'm feeling it. No, I'm not. Mind over matter. Anyway, Callum is beating up some guy because he assaulted one of his ladies, one of his workers. And if there's one thing Callum can't stand, it's misogyny. And that is a direct quote. He says, I hate misogyny. Callum is beating up this guy and he ends up getting some very useful information. He finds out that Maximus, for reasons unknown, is cutting off supplies to the Cardinal and the Boundary. They don't know why, but they think he's gearing up for something. Callum is called back to his office because he has a visitor. That visitor is Lyra. He goes to Lyra and she basically tells him that she's really worried about Grayson because of this whole vow ceremony and the attempt on his life. We also find out that Callum and Lyra had an amorous connection, but this was many a year ago. In this connection, he actually did see her bare face, which again, against the law, they're not married. But because she is his baby sister, she's off limits. He didn't want her mixed up in his world of torturing people and illegal activities, so he cut off their relationship, but he still has feelings for her and he loves her. As they're having this conversation, Grayson barges in on them and he's like, guys, I'm gonna kill her. He is just like about to explode and Callum and Lyra have to kind of talk him down from the edge. Lyra then reveals that she and her mom were the one that suggested the vow and Grayson feels betrayed, but she's like, the only other option was death. This buys us time to figure out something that we can do. So with Callum's help, Lyra, Grayson, this trio, they come up with a plan for what to do about Shadira so that Grayson doesn't have to stay married to her and she can still be executed while giving them information about Brooker's killer. So Here's the plan. I have it laid out. Step number 1. Grayson has to get Shadira to trust him. 2, he has to learn everything he possibly can from Shadira about Brooker's killer. Once they get all the information that they can from Shadira, they're gonna expose her for having orchestrated Brooker's death, or at least being part of it. This will also expose her as being a traitor to the Daggermouths, so everyone's gonna want her dead. That is their plan. Go team go, 1, 2, 3 break. Okay, to help with this ruse of him gaining Shadira's trust, Grayson tasks Lyra with getting her a mask, because she doesn't have one, but she has to wear one for the ceremony and for the dinner that she is supposed to attend with the Sorrel family. And we go back to Shadira, and this is where things go wrong for me, your reviewer today. Shadira at this point is alone in the apartment, emotions are running high, and she's already mildly drunk. She tries to make herself dinner, but fails miserably. Grayson comes home with Callum, and he starts being very domestic with her and cooks her dinner. She immediately clocks this change in his behavior, and she's like, that's kind of weird, but I'm hungry, so I won't complain. So how many times does she drink in this chapter? Let me tell you. For reference, everything highlighted here in green are the instances where she drinks. So on this page alone, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Okay. So at the end of the last section where I took a sip, we were at 18 times and we're now at 24. So I have to take 6 more. Let me show you how to be like super respectful and so demure. So you take it and you do like a little, that was too much, but that's okay. What did I say? 6?
Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on the alcohol.
Guys, I'm making a dent in this. I'm scared. Grayson and Shadira are being very domestic with each other as he's making her dinner, and they're talking rather casually. Callum, meanwhile, is in the background disabling all the listening devices and doing his like tech thing. He is very impressed by Shadira and all the tech knowledge that she has, and he's like, you know what? Respect. You try to kill my best friend? I can't hate you for that. Can't fault you. Now that Callum has altered the listening devices, they are able to speak freely, which is what they wanted. Callum leaves Grayson and Shadira alone for the night, and Grayson offers to show Shadira around the heart so she can get familiar with the world outside. She is like, you are acting so weird. Why are you being nice to me all of a sudden? And he's basically like, okay, well, we kind of have to make this work. Like, we have to at least be somewhat convincing. So they eventually start talking, and he tries to get to know more about her and her life in the Boundary. She kind of lashes out and is like, you don't know anything about my life. You don't know anything about suffering. And he's like, hey, I might not know poverty, but I know pain. Okay, don't pretend you know anything about my life. I am in a gilded cage. So they go at it for a little bit, and he eventually pins her on the kitchen island and chokes her. But as we learn about these two characters is that the border between pleasure and pain doesn't exist. Okay, any pain they experience is pleasure. Okay, maybe not all pain, right? In the right circumstances, as for most people. So he chokes her in a way that she finds very pleasurable. The moment is very charged. There's a lot of sexual tension here, but they eventually break for the night. Shadira goes back to her room and, whoa, sorry, I stumbled for a second. And she kind of convinces herself that the reason she's having these feelings is because it's like a natural biological reaction. So the night ends with Shadira masturbating in her room by herself, not quietly. Not quietly. Grayson walks by her room and hears her, and he's like, I have free will. I can enter her room at any time. He goes up to her door and literally grabs the handle, and he's like, if I turn this knob, everything will change. That's a boundary I can't uncross. He eventually comes to his senses and goes back to his room. Nothing happens between the two of them. So while this is happening, whoa. So there's a lot of sexual tension between Shadira and Grayson at this point in time. Meanwhile, Jameson, the love of her life, is toiling away without her. Jameson goes into the Cardinal to speak with other rebel leaders. Very important distinction. The rebels are not the Daggermouths. The Daggermouths are technically supposed to be different. They don't necessarily have the same goals. They can occasionally align if the price is right, however. Jameson goes into the Cardinal to speak with the Cardinal rebel leader. The overall theme of this book is that everyone is separated and there is power in unity. Jason goes to meet with this rebel leader by the name of Kestrel Pharaoh. My recall is amazing. I'm telling you, it's mind over matter. So Jameson is talking with Pharaoh and basically tells Pharaoh about the drones and how there have been more drones, not just the ones that followed him. And they've been mapping out the boundary for whatever reason. And Jameson is like, you don't map out a place unless you're planning an attack. They also debrief on the cutting off of resources to the Cardinal. So Jameson here, whoa, that was, oh my God. Hold on, that was, I literally, whoa. My brain is scrambling as we speak. I just slurred a little bit. I'm fine. Guys, I'm really not overreacting. I'm genuinely trying to fight this as best as I can. But I do feel something happening within the bowels of my stomach. Anyway, Jameson and Pharaoh combine their knowledge and they prepare for an attack from the heart. They know something is happening. They, again, just don't know when. Jameson also tells Pharaoh about Shadira and the state of her and what she's doing with the rebellion. The next morning, we flash over to Lyra's perspective. This is where we find out a little bit more of the oppression of women in the heart specifically. Lyra is in a position of power because she's the daughter of Maximus. She is essentially the heart's PR person. She does all their marketing and she controls what goes out of the heart and what is broadcast. But she is still a woman, so she's not allowed to train to fight. So in the morning, she is training alone and in secret. This training session is crashed by Callum. So they do a little bit of a sparring match with each other, but it's very sexually charged. Callum tries to confess his feelings for Lyra, but she's basically like, no, you threw me away like I was trash 5 years ago. Like, you don't get to feel that way about me. You don't get to have some claim over me. Like, we're done. We're nothing. My tummy hurts. Okay, water. So Callum tries to make some advances at Lyra, but she brushes him off and eventually leaves to go back to Grayson's apartment. So in Grayson's apartment, they are together in the kitchen, getting coffee, just having a normal morning, we'll say. Sorry, the quotations were supposed to be on normal, not morning. It is the morning. Grayson, in an act of weakness, decides to confront Shadira on the noises she was making last night. She is initially a little embarrassed about it, but then she's like, okay, and what about it? Yeah. So what? See, personally, this chapter, I think it was a missed opportunity because she makes a dig at him of like, okay, at least I know how to please myself. And I think that was like a very low level diss. I think she could have been a little meaner. Like if that was me and Grayson had said something along the lines of like, hey, you were really loud last night, I would respond with something along the lines of like, oh yeah, sorry. That's what it sounds like when a woman is enjoying herself. I'm sure that's a foreign noise to you. Glad to give you a little lesson. I don't know. I feel like she pulled her punches a little bit. Maybe she was embarrassed and she wasn't on her game. That's okay. We all fall sometimes. So they start arguing back and forth about her little sexcapades when they are interrupted by Lyra. So Lyra accuses them of sleeping with each other and she's like, Grayson, she's a Daggermouth. Don't lose sight of what she is. So after they vehemently deny sleeping with each other, Lyra gifts Shadira with the mask that she'll be wearing to the family dinner. This mask is a skull mask. It's very important and representative because all the other masks that the elite wear are plain. The idea is that they strip you of your identity and only like the design and the color really portray status, but they're not supposed to be like super gaudy, which her mask is portrayed as being like really flashy and really gaudy. So it's a little bit of a rebellion from the thing that is supposed to keep them subdued. I almost fell backward. We're okay. Then Shadira and Lyra kind of get into it because she's like, you are still a dog of the heart's elite. You do what they tell you to. And Lyra essentially schools her and she's like, hey, just because I do what my father says and I work for the heart doesn't mean we're not also trapped here. She's like, I'm a woman. I have absolutely no rights in this heart. If I marry someone, I become their property. And along this line, as Lyra is schooling Shadira on solidarity with women, Lyra tells Grayson, you need to tell her what's really in store for her in this vow ceremony. Because Grayson apparently has been withholding some information from Shadira about what the vow ceremony really entails. And Lyra does not specify what exactly it is that he's keeping from her, but she's like, you need to tell her and now. Again, at this point, we don't know exactly what it is that she's trying to warn Shadira about, but we know it has to be bad. A Daggermouth killed their brother. And the fact that she can look over this and be like, no, you're still a person. I don't want you to go into this blind. Scary. Shadira puts on her mask and she loves it. To break in this new mask, her and Grayson go out for a night on the town in the heart, where he gives her a little tour of all the many sectors, the 4 chambers of the heart. That only dawned on me now. It is 4 sections, the 4 chambers of the heart. The left ventricle, the right ventricle, the right aorta, and left aorta. I don't think that's right. I don't know the other parts of the heart. I never went to medical school. I think I could have. Guys, okay, I'm gonna lean back here for a second. just for a second. They go for a tour of the heart. Shadira learns about the agricultural bubble domes. So then they have a heart-to-heart where she kind of asks him, like, do you really agree with what the heart is doing? A lot of hearts in that sentence. Grayson, for some reason, is really honest with her in this moment. For some reason, you know, he's trying to like build her trust. So he's like, I don't actually agree with everything the heart does. And he is very honest about all the injustices and how he doesn't feel good being the executioner. And he is very humanized to Shadira in this moment. So they have a bit of an understanding of each other before Grayson and Shadira go back to his apartment to get ready for the dinner. The dinner scene is very important and very transformative in the relationship between Shadira and the other characters. So as they start going up to this apartment, his dad's apartment, Grayson warns Shadira that he is going to try to get under her skin, and she just has to stay strong. He's just gonna keep pushing. Like, he's the number one rage baiter. She just can't feed into it. He immediately starts interrogating Shadira, and she is just throwing that shit right back at him. Okay, she's holding her own very well at this dinner table, and it surprises everyone because the environment of this family is they all just live under Maximus's thumb and no one fights back. Not even Grayson, definitely not Lyra, and not Alara. So Shadira kind of emboldens the family as she is fighting back against Maximus, and it gets to a point where Maximus is talking down to Shadira and calls her a whore, and Grayson defends her. They all get into a loud, heated argument at the dinner table that ends with Maximus taking Lyra. He yanks her by the hair and starts choking her, and Grayson finally acts to defend her. Up until this point, if you'll remember at the beginning of the story, at the last dinner, Maximus attacked Alara and Grayson wasn't able to protect her. This time is different because Shadira is there, and since Shadira kind of proved to them that they could stand up to Maximus, it helped give Grayson the push that he needed to defend his sister. Grayson tries to stand up to Maximus. Maximus points a gun at Grayson, but he does not back down. He's like, what are you gonna do, shoot me? And then lo and behold, he shoots him. Very unexpected. You imagine in those situations like, oh yeah, he wouldn't risk the spare. He did. So he shoots Grayson in the shoulder, again, non-lethal. And the night ends with Grayson escorting Lyra out of the apartment. Maximus tries to get the both of them to stay, but he refuses, and Maximus warns Grayson that there will be consequences for this. The three of them leave together. Lyra is very shaken up by the incident. She was just attacked by her father. She starts hyperventilating, having a panic attack, I will say, in the elevator, and Shadira shows compassion and helps talk her through it. So Shadira is able to calm Lyra down, and they come up with a plan where Grayson sends Lyra to stay with Callum so that she will be safe and away from Maximus. Grayson and Shadira stay in the apartment, and he lashes out. He basically breaks everything in his path. He's flipping tables, he's throwing plates on the ground, like it is a mess. This is just a pure expression of his frustration and anger, and Shadira is waiting patiently for him to finish up this outburst so that she can help him with his shoulder. It's a rare show of compassion from Shadira. She is very patient with Grayson and treats him like a human being for the first time. She helps take off his shirt so that she can help dress his wound. And when she does, she sees he has a whole bunch of scars on his back. Grayson admits to Shadira that he was abused by his father, and a lot of those wounds were inflicted by him as a part of training, quote unquote. Shadira feels bad for Grayson. She cups his face. They have a very tender moment, and the night ends with them kind of like agreeing to be a comfort to each other, but not really talking about it. So later on into the night, Lyra shows up at Callum's doorstep. He realizes that she has been beaten. She's bloodied. She's shaken up. He helps escort her into his apartment, runs a bath for her, and tries to be there for her while still letting her have her space. Once he realizes how badly Maximus injured her, he swears to get revenge on her behalf and kill Maximus. While Lyra is in the bath and kind of having her alone time, Callum sneaks off to make a call to an unknown person and starts moving forward some plans that have not been specified to us as the reader yet. What we do know is that Callum is for some reason arranging for some people to break into the heart to see Shadira. This is unexpected Callum is not supposed to be a part of the rebellion, but somehow he's on the phone with someone arranging for a heist to come see Shadira, not take her away. He's like, you guys can't take her, but you can come see her. The next morning, Lyra wakes up. She is still a little sore from the night before. Callum is not there. He is in a meeting, rather he is torturing someone. But she's with his guards and she decides to take off her mask. Well, she did that the night before. Callum saw her face the night before, but she decides to keep off the mask. She is no longer bending to the will of the heart. She then calls someone else, and the person on the other line is like, this is a very unexpected call. We don't know who she's talking to, but she calls someone and she's like, I have a plan. We're moving forward. We then go back to Maximus. This perspective, it's in the chapter I Have a Plan, and it's a very short snippet in the chapter. And it is by far one of the most heartbreaking ones for me. We flash forward to Alara, and she is being held prisoner where she's been for the past 12 hours since the dinner. Alara is basically forced to stand in this contraption that's holding her to the ceiling by her head, far enough where like she's forced to stand, like she can't go down on her knees or sit down. So she's forced into a standing position. She has like a cage around her head, and it's purposeful not only to keep her standing, but also so that she doesn't damage her face, since that is what is projected out into the world, and Maximus doesn't want any visible signs of his abuse. So he goes down there and basically abused her for the past 12 hours to ensure that she would be obedient to the heart. And the stuff he says in this chapter is chilling, I will say. So Maximus says, the weakness spread through female blood like a disease. He'd seen it in his mother, that soft corruption that had ultimately required her elimination. He saw it in Alara, despite years of careful conditioning, and now in Lyra, who'd somehow absorbed these poisonous ideas about equality, about women deserving voices in matters beyond their comprehension. Alara was supposed to be one of the good ones. Maximus's father had vetted her bloodline before they agreed to their vow. All obedient, all submissive, all women that knew exactly where their place was, kneeling at the feet of men. His wife was the rotten apple. So after Alara agrees to be submissive to Maximus, he releases her and lets her get cleaned up by some of the maids. He then goes to talk to Captain Mikkel, and they agree to put more surveillance in Grayson's room and in his apartment. Oh, I think I messed up. Sorry, I think I said earlier that Jameson met up with this Kestrel person. That didn't actually happen till right now. So forget I said that earlier. I think I got mixed up. So they do that and they exchange some information. He finds out some very damning evidence about the Cardinal. So the Heart implemented new rules, basically rewarding productivity in the Cardinal and loyalty to the Heart, where if you turn in any traitors, any rebels, you will get extra rations of food and water. We also find out that there's a group of workers in the arms manufacturing part of the Cardinal that had gone missing and hadn't come back in 10 days, I think they said. That for some reason they weren't able to go back home and they were being kept in this manufacturing area because the Heart is building something and doesn't want them to spill it. Oops. Kestrel Pharaoh, who doesn't have a photo up here, believes that Maximus and the Heart is keeping them there so that they'll help build this thing, but plans to kill them so that they don't leak what it is that they're building. Sorry, again, this is where I messed up, but this is where Jameson tells Pharaoh about them mapping the boundary and planning some kind of attack, and they prepare for it. And Jameson proposes an alliance between the Cardinal Resistance and the boundary, and Pharaoh agrees to think about it. All right. Here's where things get a little dicey. We go back to Grayson. This is after the dinner, but he's been avoiding Shadira because of what happened, because of the vulnerability, and also because he doesn't want to tell her about what's in store for the vow ceremony. But the words of Lyra ring in his mind, and he decides that now is as good a time as any. Grayson tells Shadira that not only will the vow ceremony be broadcast live for everyone across the rings to see, which she was like, okay, yeah, I was kind of expecting that. Like, that's fine. Was that the big thing you need to tell me? No. The big thing, you know, Grayson was kind of burying the lead here. Part 2 of the vow ceremony is Grayson and Shadira consummating their marriage on a viewing platform. They will have to consummate their marriage while all the other elites of the Heart get to watch. She is physically sick about this revelation, and he tries to assure her that he doesn't want to do it either. That is actually the last thing he would want to do, and that he doesn't want to hurt her. A clear transition from the first part of the story where he was like, Shadira, I'll kill you. He has now moved on to Shadira, I would never hurt you. So to kind of come to terms with their future, they start drinking together, and Shadira admits a few drinks in that it's kind of unfair for her to be angry at him because he has proven to her especially at the dinner, that he is not a bad guy, that he doesn't agree with everything that the heart does, that he is as trapped as she is. So Grayson feels bad about the situation and wants to give Shadira one last night of freedom before they have to be bound together forever in holy matrimony. He offers Shadira one night in the Thane nightclub and she agrees. As they get ready to leave, Shadira stands up from her seat. She's a little drunk already, a little tipsy, and she kind of stumbles, and Grayson catches her and holds her hand, and they have an intimate moment where he's like holding her hand, but she doesn't pull away. And as I mentioned, they were drinking, so I must now drink. All right, we are on drinks number 25, 26, and 27. So that's 3 sips for me.
Blame it on the alcohol.
Okay, I said 3 sips and I actually meant 3 gulps. I shouldn't have done that. Over the next couple of chapters, it switches really fast back and forth between the characters' perspectives, and that's because Jameson and Jaeger are now breaking into the heart to rescue Shadira. So Jameson walks into the Wolf's Head Den bar thingy, and Jaeger lays out the plan. They have a group of 7 other people by various aliases, and their plan is that they're going to break in disguised as Vera guards. So they both put on the uniform. And one thing I want to point out is that Jameson was like, Jaeger looks really comfortable in the Vera uniform, like he's worn it before. And then we never come back to this. And I'm like, no, we're going to come back to this in book 2. We're going to find out that Jaeger was a part of the Vera, and that's why he's so powerful and has all these connections or whatever. I'm planting the seed right now. If this is confirmed in book 2, I will be vindicated. Shadira is getting ready for this nightclub. She changes into a nice outfit and scolds herself for getting so close to Grayson and being so affected by his touch. While she's getting ready, she decides to take the photo that she stole from his room, the photo of him and the unidentified person that both don't have masks on. But as she's looking closer at the photo, she's like, I think I recognize this guy, but she can't quite place his face. And she doesn't have time to think about it because they gotta get to the club. So they leave and she takes the photo with her. Jameson and Jaeger, they are about to break into the heart and they decide to get through it with a Vera vehicle. The idea is that they break into the heart dressed as the Vera guard, but they also need a car. So Jameson and Jaeger meet up with his contact on the inside. Who is it? Captain Mikkel. Jameson is like, oh, hell no, there's no way that you're friendly with Maximus's right-hand man. There's no way he's actually on our side. But Mikkel was like, hey, I have skin in this rebellion too. So Jameson eventually comes around and they make their way to the Thane nightclub. As they are passing, this is important, as they are passing through one of the checkpoints into the heart, one of the Vera guards that is checking all their identification says that security is beefed up because they have rumors about an extraction that's taking place in the heart. And Jameson and Jaeger freak out because they're like, oh my god, how did people find out about our plans to kidnap Shadira back? But the guy at the checkpoint is like, no, it's not Shadira, it's someone named Python. Someone by this alias is going to be extracted from the heart. So they're trying to beef up security to prevent that from happening. They don't even know who the Python is, but they're like, well, we don't want them to leave. But that's important to remember for later. We then go back to Shadira. She is now in the nightclub with Grayson. She is sitting at the bar. At this point in the chapter, when we get to her in the bar, she's already 5 drinks in. So with the 5 drinks that Shadira starts off with and finishes throughout the course of this chapter, plus the additional ones, that's an extra 8 sips for me. All right, Shadira, here's to you. That was too much. So I'm at the point in this video where as much as I'd like to argue that nothing's happening, my faculties are slipping. I forgot to press record on the microphone. So I'm gonna try this again. Shadira's at the bar. She's alone. No one really wants to go near her because they know that she is Grayson's betrothed and they don't want to mess with her. They're afraid of her. Grayson comes up to her at the bar and he's being very touchy-feely with her, very friendly, because he is also a little tipsy. Grayson eventually leaves her to drink by herself and go talk to Callum. Not her talk to Callum, Grayson goes to talk to Callum. While he's going to talk to Callum, he is intercepted by a woman who you might remember named Maya. Maya was the lady of the night that Grayson brought up to his apartment the night before his first vow to the other girl that he was supposed to marry. Shadira sees this and beside herself starts getting jealous, and she tries to tell herself that she's not jealous, but she very much is. And it's very confusing for her because like a couple days ago, she tried killing him. She can't help the feelings bubbling up, so she tries drinking a little bit more and eventually brings a bottle with her out onto the dance floor. But when she gets to the dance floor, she is intercepted by a Vera officer. They grab her by the arm and drag her into a side room, and Shadira's like, okay, well, if you're gonna try to assault me, I'm not going down without a fight. So she starts getting ready, but then the Vera officer takes off their mask, and surprise, surprise, it's Jameson. So Shadira is reunited with Jameson. He is like, okay, we gotta get going. But Shadira seems a little on edge. She's like, wait, Grayson can't see you here. You have to leave. And Jameson's like, you're on a first name basis with this guy now? Like, you came in here to kill him. I am not getting dizzy. I am not getting dizzy. I'm fine. My eyes aren't even bloodshot, okay? If I was really bad, they would be bloodshot. They were bloodshot after I turned 21 and tried doing drinking around the world in Epcot. And I started and stopped in Mexico.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
So as Jameson is trying to tell Shadira the escape plan, Grayson stumbles upon them and says the words, Jameson fucking Vine. So Grayson breaks up their little thing. Jameson and Grayson have a macho off. They literally pull Shadira between them. I'm not kidding. They each take one of her arms and kind of like pull her which way. Grayson is basically like, Shadira has to stay here, otherwise my father will kill my sister and mother. And Jameson is like, okay, so you would risk the life of Shadira for your loved ones? And he's like, what kind of fucking question is that? Yes! This girl tried to kill me a couple days ago. Why wouldn't I? Shadira basically agrees to stay with Grayson because she knows that there is a danger to the rings if she leaves. If she goes with Jameson, Maximus will retaliate by not only killing Jameson, but also dropping the bombs on the outer rings. What was I saying? Okay, so Shadira agrees to stay with Grayson, but she asks him to give them a moment alone. She swears that she's not going to run away. Grayson believes her. They get 3 minutes to say goodbye. Jameson immediately goes in for the kiss, but she backs away. She doesn't let him kiss her. Okay. As I was saying, I also forgot to say, Grayson revealed to Shadira and Jameson that he's the one that's been sending medicine to the cardinal and the outer boundary rings, and he threatens to stop sending the medicine if Jameson takes Shadira. So that's another reason that she agrees not to go with him. So Jameson confesses his love to Shadira, knowing very well that this could be the last time that they see each other. They have a tearful goodbye, and she sends Jameson off into the night. Flash forward a little bit. Shadira and Grayson are in the car on the way back to his apartment. She refuses to touch him. Even when they're like elbows brush, she like moves her entire body. He gets pissed off. They go into the apartment and Shadira immediately tries to go into her room. Grayson stops her and he's like, we need to talk. So Grayson is really upset that Shadira even entertained the idea of leaving with Jameson, and he frames it as if she betrayed him. And she's like, I have no fucking loyalty to you, by the way. They kind of get into it. They're getting into an argument, but it's quickly cut off when he sees a red dot appear on the wall beside them, and he's like, oh, we are being attacked. So he tackles what's her name? He tackles Shadira to the ground and they are immediately ambushed by Vera guards. It's very confusing because the Vera guards are supposed to work for him, right? I mean, maybe not for him, but they're supposed to protect him. He's the heir or whatever. They're not supposed to attack him. So they get into a duel with the Vera guards. There's like 8 of them, 7, I think. They manage to take them all down, sustaining very minor injuries. But Shadira picks up a gun from a fallen Vera officer and points it at Grayson. She's like, okay, what if I shoot you right now? And Grayson essentially responds and says, well, if you shoot me, I'm gonna wanna fuck you. So lo and behold, Shadira does shoot Grayson. It only grazes him. He's fine. And then he turns around and shoots her too. It grazes her leg. She is also fine. Now that they have a little bit of pain mixed in with their pleasure, they're ready to go. So they start kissing very passionately. And the phrase like all teeth is used. And I never liked that phrase. I can't imagine anyone liking a kiss that is actually all teeth. Like, I don't even like when my own teeth hit against each other. You know, sometimes you just bite into something and it just grinds in a wrong way. I can't imagine a kiss being like that and being enjoyable. But who am I? I'm alone. I'm all alone. Yeah, No, I'm Mexican. I need to sing the proper songs. Yo tenía una esperanza en el fondo de mi alma que un día te quedaras tú conmigo. I'm fine. I'm fine. So Grayson and Shadira start making out, and he puts her on the table, on the island. She's like, this doesn't mean anything, it's just physical. He's like, okay, shut the fuck up. Not literally, but maybe something along those lines. So they start kissing. He starts getting physical with her. His hand starts roaming into her nether region. As he's getting ready to pull down her pants, something falls out of her pocket. What is it? Oh, the photograph that she stole from his room. And he's like, where did you get this? And she's like, aren't we busy doing something else? Don't worry about it. But it sobers him so quickly that he puts his pants back on. I don't think they ever came off, but you know, metaphorically speaking, he puts his pants back on and they part ways for the night, not having done anything besides some very demure, polite fingering. I mean, not polite. He was rather aggressive with it, but that's on par with these characters. Also, mind you, they are engaging in these sexual activities whilst there are 7 dead bodies around them. Like, littered on the floor, they are covered in blood. I could give you that they're covered in blood and don't care, but the 7 dead bodies, you know, like, I feel like that would at least be like a physical barrier. Like, imagine he's trying to carry her back into the room and he fucking trips. Like, logistically, you just can't leave them there, but they don't care. They don't even care the next morning because they're still there. Before I get into the next morning, Jameson and Jaeger go back, having lost on their mission. I keep falling back on this door. Jaeger also confesses that he always knew about the vow between Shadira and Grayson, and Jameson gets really mad about it, but he still tells Jaeger about the plan with the bombs, and he organizes for all the rebellion forces to join together. So Jameson unites the Cardinal himself and Jaeger, and they're like, okay, we're gonna meet in the Wolf's Head Den Board Bar, whatever the fuck it's called, and then they part ways for the night. Next morning, Shadira wakes up, has a killer hangover. I hope that's not a prediction for what will happen to me tomorrow. I don't think so. Mind over matter. I ate and you didn't, Shadira. So she has some deep regrets about what happened the night before, understandably so. She not only did not kiss the love of her life, Jameson, but she also had an entanglement with Grayson that didn't even get to its climax. And neither did she. She goes out into the living room and finds Grayson, who is shirtless and also still surrounded by the 7 bodies, as I mentioned earlier. So Grayson calls Callum to come clean it up. That's a lot of C's. And I understand why he waited for Callum, but at the same time, you know, dead bodies, I feel, start to smell after a certain point. So logistically wise, like, I feel like Shadira at the very least should have like recoiled when she left her room. Like, she should have had some kind of reaction other than saying like, oh yeah, the 7 bodies are still here. Callum eventually comes into the apartment with his cleaning crew. Before the cleaning crew comes in, actually, he brings in another Vera guard that is still alive but is being held prisoner. This Vera guard was a part of the group that was infiltrating the apartment with the other 7. He was on a rooftop somewhere else looking at them through the scope of a sniper. So they take him for questioning to find out why the hell the Vera were there in the beginning and why they were trying to kill Grayson. Give me a chair. Hold on. Give me a second. I didn't mention this earlier, but when the Vera guard broke in to the apartment, right, they started shooting at Grayson and Shadira. They said, we're here by order of the president. And Grayson says, fuck the president. His words, not mine. But like immediately I was like, okay, well, that's his dad. Like, he didn't order for Grayson to be killed. That doesn't make sense. Why would they start shooting at them? So that's what Callum is trying to find out now. So they get this Vera guy and they bring him into an interrogation chamber that Grayson just so happens to have in his apartment. I think it's like a weapons room that just so happens to have a table to interrogate people. They find out that the Vera were to plant the surveillance devices that Maximus had requested in the earlier chapter. They did not expect Grayson to come back home so early, so when they found him, they panicked and started shooting. So it was some miscommunication on their end. I just find it funny that they didn't know he was coming home when the whole like bit of the heart is that they're like a surveillance state. They know everything. So the fact that they didn't have like a GPS or they didn't have anyone watching Grayson in the club to be like, hey, by the way, he's leaving, that seems a bit of a stretch to me. But that's okay. That's okay. We're gonna let that pass. So Callum starts interrogating this guy. He gets this information, but he's like, you know what? That's not all I'm after. So Callum starts questioning this Vera officer about the other plans for the boundary. So we find out some very important plot information. This is what we find out. The bombs that Maximus is planning on dropping on the boundary are actually gas bombs. And they're not normal because not only is it gas, they're programmed to only affect the boundary in certain areas. So they will stop at the border of the heart. It won't seep into the heart. And those Cardinal workers that went missing, that were working in the bomb factory, the reason that they didn't come home is because they tested the gas on them. They're dead. And the reason Maximus is planning on dropping these bombs is because he wants to wipe out the boundary and the cardinal sectors to make room for something that we don't know at this point in time. By the way, this Vera officer isn't just like giving over information. Callum is torturing it out of him. So he's like breaking one of his knuckles one by one, smashing in his kneecaps, you know, pretty routine stuff. Lyra then stumbles upon them as they're torturing this guy, and she's a little horrified. And I want to specify that because Lyra's whole character arc later on after this point is, I'm not fragile, don't protect me. But she gets freaked out when they are torturing this guy. And you know what? Like, understandably, I think if I saw someone, even like the love of my life, breaking someone's knuckles and kneecaps, I would also be like, whoa. I've never seen this part of you. So she gets freaked out and summons everyone to the living room. Callum even notes that when they're in the living room together, Lyra is sitting as far away from him as possible and is like on the edge of her seat as if she's ready to flee. So I just want to point out, in case we all forgot, she was scared of him for a second, okay? So they're talking about the attack that happened the night before. And it comes out, rather, Shadira kind of exposes Grayson for being a part of the resistance. And Grayson is like, Callum, why didn't you tell me that you were a part of the resistance? And everyone just kind of figures out that they've been helping the resistance without knowing it. Lyra is like, okay, we can't have any more secrets from each other. We have to work together. Let's just be honest with each other. And Callum is like, okay, you're right. I'm gonna go interrogate our friend, Officer Weber. Anyway, he talks about interrogating the officer again, but he references him by name. And Lyra is like, wait a minute, what's his name again? And so he says his name. And Lyra immediately takes Callum's gun, goes into the room, and kills the man. This is very confusing to everyone involved. Lyra, up until this point, has not been like a cold-blooded killer. You know, she's strong, she stands up for herself, she talks back when she has the opportunity, but she's not like a cold-blooded killer like the rest of them. So this is a little out of character for her. When she comes back, it is revealed that Lyra, at the age of 14, was given to Vera officers by her father. She was raped by these officers for a series of 3 months as a gift to them for their loyalty. And this officer that they were interrogating was among the group of men that was assaulting her. It was a group of 11. So Callum, Grayson, Shadira, they all get very angry, reasonably so. Shadira vows to help Lyra find and track down all these men and kill them. Grayson is horrified that he had no idea that this happened to his younger sister. Callum is also horrified because this is the love of his life and he had no idea. So after Lyra drops this bombshell, everyone is kind of reeling from the revelation. They don't have a lot of time to dwell on it because very quickly, Captain Mikkel comes to summon Shadira and Grayson to Maximus's office in the Twin Towers. So the two of them get ready and they leave with Captain Mikkel. When they get to Maximus's office, he questions them about the 8 guards that suddenly went missing. And Grayson admits to killing all of them. He's like, I thought they were people that were trying to kidnap her back to the boundary, so I acted accordingly. I didn't know what these people were doing in my apartment. And Maximus is like, that doesn't seem like a likely story. You two are obviously very close to each other, and despite the fact that I ordered for you two to marry each other, I didn't want you to get close like this. So Maximus orders for the two of them to be put in quarantine, separate from each other. No, quarantine's not the right word. He sequesters the two of them apart from each other, and they have like a Shrek moment where they're pulled away, you know, like Shrek and Fiona are pulled away at the altar and they're both reaching for each other. We then flash forward to Lyra and Callum. They are back at his apartment. Sorry, I forgot to mention this. Before Grayson and Shadira are taken to Maximus's office, they all make a plan to not hide any secrets from each other. So they were all supposed to go to Callum's apartment that night, but they were summoned away to go talk to Maximus. So Grayson tells them, you guys go ahead, continue with the plan, even if we're not there. So Lyra, we now flash forward into the evening and she notices that Grayson and Shadira still have not shown up. She is worried, but Callum tries to reassure her. Callum asks Lyra why she never told him about the attack. And they have kind of like a heart-to-heart, a very honest conversation. And Lyra's like, it's not my job to make you feel better. Like, he feels guilty because he's a man and he thinks he has to protect her. And she's like, it's not my job to make you feel better about the attack that happened to me before we were even really friends. She gets really mad at Callum for hiding his rebellion involvement and all these secrets from her and trying to protect her because he didn't want to tell her that he tortures people for information to help the resistance because he didn't want her to see this dark part of her. And she insists that she is not a fragile person and that she could have handled it and he should have trusted her. And I agree that she is not fragile. However, I also understand why he had some trepidation about showing her this side of himself because she did freak out when he was torturing that guy. So that's all I'll say about that. They have a really honest conversation with each other. I'm not slurring my words. Where Callum finally confesses his feelings to Lyra and how much he loves her, and they celebrate by having sex. It's a very long chapter, very long scene. Again, as a person, like, I don't know, it's just icky. I don't like it. I mean, it's not icky. It's a very normal, natural thing that people do that I just don't happen to like reading about. And that's fine. Callum, the one thing I'll point out is that Callum is like, okay, Lyra, pick It's not that funny. It's not that funny. Callum tells her to pick a number of how many times she's going to come. She says 3, and he's like, yeah, we can do better than that. So they negotiate 5. He gets to 5. Congratulations, Callum. Anyway, so as they're finishing up, he's about to start round 2, but then they get a call that Grayson and Shadira are being held captive, and they got to get back down to business. At the same time, he gets an alert from Jaeger, I think, about a rebellion meetup in the Wolf's Head Boar's Den. No, I don't think boar is in the word. I think I'm making up boar. Wolf's Head Den Bar is what I'm trying to say. So he gets the alert, and then the two of them decide to go together. And because Callum is appreciating the girl boss of Lyra, he's like, okay, yes, we can go together. Welcome to the revolution. This is the chapter that we're on. So Jameson is making his way to the bar to meet up with his fellow rebel leaders when he sees some Vera Patrol vehicles snooping around the boundary in a way that is abnormal. So he thinks something is going down. And he is right. The Vera Patrol people send out an alert and they're like, we are implementing a curfew. You all need to get inside right now. As I mentioned, and as is repeated multiple times throughout the book, the people have been called to rebel. So when they see the Vera Patrol telling them to go inside for curfew, they fight back. So the boundary people start throwing shit at the Vera Patrol vehicles. And Jameson watches as this all unfolds, and the Vera officers eventually come out of the vehicles and start attacking the people. Gunfire is exchanged, and Jameson tries to take out as many of these Vera guards as he can. The boundary people, with Jameson's help, eventually subdue all the Vera officers. Unfortunately, a teenager dies in the exchange, and Jameson watches as a woman cries over the body of her dead son, and he vows to get revenge on the Vera. Jameson tells this group of strangers, very Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, it's the climb, where he tells everyone something is coming. You guys need to be prepared. And they all look to him as their Lord and Savior. And they're like, okay, we will be at the ready. You just guide us. Then we get back to the, no, not the boar's head. That's cheese and meat. Jameson gets to the bar. And in the time it took for him to do like a casual mini rebellion against the Vera and walking to the bar, everyone has heard of what he's done. So they're all giving him like a silent 3-finger salute as he's walking. He's got a lot of street cred right now because he's also covered in blood. The roster of this bar is as follows. So we have Jameson, Jaeger, Pharaoh, who doesn't have a picture here. I picture as the guy from Six of Crows with the cane. That's who I picture. Although Pharaoh is a woman. You know who I'm talking about. Guys, I fear as time persists, this is hitting me harder. But I still believe in mind over matter, and I think I'm doing pretty good. Now, when I edit this, I might feel differently, but as of right now, I think I'm pretty good. I think I look good. I feel good. I feel great. Once again, I don't condone drinking. It's not fun, okay? This is not fun for me. You know what's fun? I don't know. Reading. Singing. Dancing. What's my name? Our Lady of the Underground. As I was saying, the roster. We have Jameson, Jaeger. No, Shadira's not there. She's being held prisoner. Callum and Lyra are there. They're joined by Captain Mikkel. They're briefly delayed in their plans for the rebellion because everyone is questioning each other. And I blame fucking Jameson. This is another reason I don't like him. He delays fucking everything with his incessant questions. He's all like, why the hell do you have this person here, Jaeger? As if he's not the leader of the Daggermouth. Put some fucking respect on his name. No, he pisses me off so bad with his questions. Like, what do you mean you're not reading the story from a third-person perspective and can see everything that's ever happened with the other characters? This guy pisses me the fuck off. And can I say he's ugly? I don't know. Nothing about this appeals to me. Honestly, the only man that appeals to me on this board right now is Aaron and Callum. The guy that plays Hades also appeals to me. None of these other conventionally attractive love interests appeal to me, okay? I think they're a little ugly. And that's nothing on the way that they're written or the way that they're drawn. Nothing appeals to me about them. I don't like them. I don't think I have a favorite character in this book either. So they're all delayed because Jameson won't stop asking fucking questions like it's Kahoot. He specifically starts questioning Mikkel and his allegiances because he is a part of the Vera Guard and he's Maximus's right-hand man. The bombshell that Mikkel drops for us and for Lyra is the reason that he's invested in the rebellion is because, surprise, surprise, Grayson is his son. I could not have guessed that in a million fucking years. It's never alluded to. And that's not a bad thing, okay? I'm sorry if I make it sound like it's a bad thing, but it truly caught me off guard. I had no idea. You know, when I read it, I was definitely getting like a Star Wars vibe. Anytime a secret parent is revealed, I'll always think of Star Wars. But that truly came out of fucking nowhere. And I was like, whoa, okay. That's not even the last of the bombshells. Another bombshell enters the villa, and Lyra finds out that not only is Grayson not her full brother, but her other brother is alive. Which that I did guess. I guessed that Brooker was not dead. Not only is Brooker alive, but he casually strolls into the Wolf's Head Den bar and gives Lyra a very casual, "Hey sis." Hi sisters. That's how he came into the bar. Oh, and then the other thing that we find out is that, I don't know if you remember, but I think I said earlier, Lyra, after she was beaten by Maximus, she made a secret phone call to someone that we don't know who she was talking to, but she said she had a plan. The person that she called was Pharaoh, the leader of the Cardinal Rebellion. We still don't know what she asked of Pharaoh, but we know that she was the person that Lyra called. We then flash forward to Grayson in his prison cell. Grayson wakes up and he hears that Shadira is being beaten. And Grayson is shouting at the top of his lungs. He's begging the Vera officers to stop and to hurt him instead and to leave her alone. It's a very sad moment because, again, this man is the executioner. He's been cold hearted, like, and he has been brought to his knees begging for them to spare not the love of his life, at least if you ask him. If you ask me, another story. Maximus comes into the picture. He witnesses the both of them. They're in cells right next to each other, but Grayson can't see Shadira and Shadira can't see him. So Maximus is the only one that's able to look at both of them. As he's looking at both of them, he makes some revelations. He reveals to Grayson that he always knew about the resources that he had been sending out into the Cardinal. And he reveals that Brooker, his older brother, was also helping the rebellion, but he was doing it in a more sophisticated way, we'll say. Like, he was under the radar for a very long time. Brooker was actually leading a double life in the Cardinal and actually fell in love with someone there. As a result, Maximus ordered for him to be killed. So he was the one that put the contract out on Brooker's life. I have a highlighter now. He also reveals that he was the one that put a hit out on Grayson's life, because I forgot to mention it, but earlier, specifically the night where they go out to the club, Shadira reveals to Grayson like something very obvious, something that he should have picked up on, but she's like, the contract that someone put out on your life had to be someone from the heart, because it was a very expensive contract. People from the boundary, the Cardinal, they don't have money like that. Someone that has money like that lives in the heart. So one of your own is betraying you. And that had to be the same person that put the hit out on Brooker. So now we know that the person was Maximus. The reason Maximus put a hit out on Grayson was because he wanted to use it as an excuse for exterminating the people in the boundary and the Cardinal. It was supposed to be an excuse of like, look, see, they killed both my sons. They obviously don't deserve to live. Ultimate bombshell of this moment, Maximus reveals that the Daggermouth that killed Brooker is Shadira. I feel like this should have been very obvious. I did not guess that it was her. I think someone more smarter than me might have guessed that it was her. It just, in my heart of hearts, it felt too obvious. So I didn't think, I was waiting for someone to pull the rug out from under me. So I didn't think it was gonna be her, but then it was her. So my bad, I'm dumb. So Grayson feels betrayed. But the reason Shadira didn't tell him that she killed Brooker was because she didn't know she killed Brooker. The person that the contract was out for was someone by the name of Levi Pierce, something along those lines. The first name is definitely Levi, so it wasn't under Brooker's name. She remembered the contract after he said his name, and she feels very bad about killing Brooker. Maximus also reveals to Grayson that the ultimate plan is to bomb the boundary so that they can make room for the elites of the neighboring city-states to come to Newfound Haven and find shelter there. So he's trying to make room. He's like, we have the resources, we have the power. The only thing we lack is the space. It's very reminiscent of the current conflict in Palestine. They are trying to appeal to the other elites, that being the Western market, the United States. The only thing they lack is room. Fucking Benjamin Netanyahu. Maximus leaves Shadira and Grayson with this bombshell, having ruined any semblance of a relationship that they had, now knowing that Shadira is the one that killed Grayson's brother. So Grayson's very upset about it. They don't talk. We then go back to Lyra, Callum, Yeager, Jameson, and Pharaoh in the bar. Lyra is super upset that Brooker is not only alive, but that he didn't tell her she was alive. He was alive. She questions him. And he's like, well, I couldn't tell you, because he essentially faked his death for the rebellion. He says that his dad was too close on his tail, and the only way he could really help was from the inside, so he had to fake his own death. Brooker, who's not pictured here, also fell in love with Pharaoh. They're a thing together. So this is how Brooker's fake death happened. Yeager gets a contract to kill someone by the name of Levi Pierce, not knowing that it's Brooker, someone working for the resistance. He gives the contract to Shadira. The plan was that she takes the guy out. Yeager works to put his body in the heart's center and stage it the way that the contract required. Shadira kills the guy, and Pharaoh sees this happen. She takes Levi, aka Brooker, to Yeager and is like, hey, this is someone helping out with the resistance. We need to save him. They manage to save Brooker, and Yeager, now realizing how bad he fucked up, they take someone else's body and beat it up so badly that it's unrecognizable, but at least it's close enough in build to Brooker. They then fill the body with his blood, burn off the fingerprints and any other identifying markers and leave it in the center of the heart with the contract on it, and that sells Maximus. He's convinced that Brooker is now dead. Now that Brooker is dead, he can now work for the Resistance and help from the inside in a way that he wasn't able to before. Then Lyra's like, okay, thank you for that information. Now, Mikkel, how the fuck are you Grayson's dad? Mikkel admits that he and Alara were always in love with each other, and they were supposed to take the vows ceremony together, but she was promised to Maximus, so they weren't able to get married, but they always loved each other. Mikkel and Alara had been hooking up in secret, thus leading to Grayson's conception. Guys, my tolerance for liquor is very good. I'm so confident I'm gonna take another swig just for the hell of it. I'm unfazed. Ready? Not drunk. Grayson is Mikkel's secret love child. At some point 6 months ago, Mikkel, who is not pictured here, threatened Jaeger to pull out his support from the Resistance unless they get Grayson out of the heart. So they come up with a plan. Jaeger eventually gets the contract for Grayson's murder. He gives it to Shadira, knowing that she'll want to kill him personally. So he fills all of her guns with rubber bullets that are poisoned so that Grayson will be paralyzed and it'll look like he's dead, but he won't actually be. Little did Jaeger know that Shadira actually had a secret Vera issued gun, which is the one that she took with her and the one that she shot Grayson with. Those had real bullets, which he did not know about. So that was the one thing that fucked it up, is that she brought an unsanctioned gun. And then the other thing that fucked it up was that Grayson exposed his face. Those two things put a wrench in the plan, so they had to adapt after the fact. Everyone continues planning the attack and trying to save Shadira and Grayson. We are now at the day of the vow ceremony. This is the last day in this book and the last day of our journey together. You guys are gonna miss me when this video is over. I'm gonna miss you too. Everything's gonna be fine. Oh God. So the day of the vow ceremony, they have all made their plans. Jameson, Jaeger, Lyra, Callum, Pharaoh. Callum is waiting for his next instructions. Rather, he's waiting for a call from Jameson to confirm that everyone has been evacuated from the Boundary and the Cardinal. Meanwhile, Lyra is also preparing for war, but in a very unexpected way. She has a separate plan that we still don't know about, but one that she has executed with Pharaoh. So Jameson calls to confirm that the Boundary has been evacuated. When he makes this call, Callum then begins working on hacking the mainframe and getting into the Matrix. Lyra also reveals that she has years of evidence of Maximus's corruption, and she plans on exposing all of them. We don't exactly know what else she has planned. We just know that she plans on exposing her father in some way, shape, or form. Again, everything on the rebel side is going very smoothly, suspiciously smoothly. We then flash over to Grayson and Shadira. Maximus comes over to their cell. It has now been a couple days since the revelations about Brooker and his death. Grayson finally sees Shadira for the first time after she had been captured and sees how badly she was beaten, and despite all the anger that he has towards her, he feels sorry for her, and he feels physically pained by seeing her in pain. Mikkel escorts Grayson and Shadira back to his apartment, and we get a mirror scene of Shadira from when she first arrived at the apartment. Shadira is beaten, bloodied, and broken beyond repair. She goes into the bathroom and tries to take a bath for herself, but cannot. She is crying out in agony, but finally, for the first time when she cries out, someone is there to listen to her. Grayson comes into the bathroom and helps Shadira undress and prepares her for the bath and helps her get in. It's a very tearful moment and a very good juxtaposition to the first time that we see her in this bathroom, because this is also a time where she's vulnerable. Like that first moment when she's in the bathroom and she's crying, she's doing it by herself because she knows that she's alone and no one else will hear her. When Shadira breaks this second time in the bathroom, she's doing it while knowing that Grayson is there, the person that she was sent to kill, someone that she should not really care about, but now feels comfortable enough to break in front of. I really like this scene. And I feel like I'm speaking very intelligently about it, despite the fact that I'm one bottle deep. One bottle of vodka, might I add, okay? I made a joke that it was ginger ale in the beginning. It's not. And I'm still intelligently spoken. Anyway, so Shadira gets ready for the ceremony and she changes into her dress, which is a very revealing silk gown that Lyra gave to her and said, hey, let everyone see how Maximus has hurt you. They're not trying to cover up her bruises, they're trying to put them on display. Captain Mikkel comes to collect them and sees them as they start gearing up for war. So together they all start heading towards the vow ceremony. We then flash forward into Lyra's perspective. At this point, she is helping with the vow ceremony. She's on PR. Now, personally, I thought it might be weird that she shows up out all of a sudden, because to Maximus, she's been gone ever since the dinner. So I thought that he would be a little wary of her suddenly showing up for the vow ceremony. Now all of a sudden all obedient, but he's not. Why? Because he's stupid. So Lyra is walking up to the platform, but before she gets there, she makes a call to Callum, and she's basically like, I'm sorry, I have to do things my own way. And Callum is like, what are you talking about? We have our plan. What are you doing? Lyra tells Callum that she cannot allow Shadira to go through with this vow ceremony, because not only will she be forced to consummate the marriage, but there's another ritual that happens after that. Not only is Grayson expected to consummate his marriage to her, Maximus and the other elites will also be expected to rape Shadira. This is part of the ceremony. And Lyra is like, I cannot allow that to happen to Shadira. I cannot allow any other woman to get this far in the ceremony. And Callum is trying to talk her down. He's like, we can talk through this. We can figure out a way to save Shadira. Like, hold on, slow down. And Lyra is like, no, sorry. I have to do things my own way. I gotta go my own way. Sorry, this is a very serious moment. I should not be singing High School Musical 2. So Lyra cuts off her conversation with Callum. She goes dark, and all of Callum's comms are now sabotaged. He can't access any of his security protocols, and he frantically starts calling everyone, and no one's answering. The plan very quickly starts going south. Grayson and Shadira show up for the ceremony. They get on the platform, they say their vows, and then they do the unmasking. Now, the unmasking happens in a veil, so only the two of them can see their faces. That's the only part that's not broadcast. Lyra somehow slips a note to Shadira and Grayson to keep their masks off. So when the veil comes up, Maximus, looking like a dumbass, is like, okay, now these two people are joined in holy matrimony, and everyone else that's watching the ceremony is like aghast at the display of their faces. So Maximus finally turns around like the dipshit he is, and he's like, oh my god, they're still showing their faces, and that's not allowed, it's illegal. Lyra then strips off her own mask. She takes the shit off, and she takes off her gown, revealing a white slip thingy underneath. And as she does that, the women in the crowd, the elite women in the crowd, also start taking off their dresses, revealing the strip, and taking off their masks. Lyra has now orchestrated her own rebellion. Now, I love a good girl boss as much as the next person. However, I think it was a little too easy for Lyra. How she managed to orchestrate this rebellion in a matter of days when it took all these people like a couple of years. I'm like, okay, maybe they just didn't have her power. They didn't have her influence, and that's a normal explanation. But also, I just feel like these elite women have been beaten into submission. So it would take them a while to, speak up on their own behalf and fight back. And it is nothing against the women, and it's not me trying to say that I think that they should have been more hesitant or that they weren't like strong enough to do it or whatever. But like, we have the psychological phenomenon known as learned helplessness. So I imagine that it should have taken more convincing. Like, these women have literally been beaten over and over into submission. This is generations worth of training in the worst sense of the word. So the fact that Lyra is able to rally the troops in a matter of days and get all these elite women to turn on their husbands, men who have been proven to be violent, and attack them even at the slightest chance that they step out of line, seems a bit of a stretch to me. It seems like it's a little too easy for Lyra to orchestrate this rebellion. And I do love for a woman to be the lead of a rebellion, but honestly, I was expecting it to be Shadira. I was not expecting it to be Lyra. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. These two really fade into the background for the last half of the book, And I spend most of it getting to know them. So it was a little like, I wish they had played more of a part in the end. But let me talk about the end, actually. After this happens, we flash back to Callum, who is in the entertainment district away from Lyra. And now, having known what she's planning, he starts running towards her in the heart. We then flash over to Lyra, Maximus, Grayson, Alara, and Shadira. They're all on the platform together. Maximus reveals that he actually knew about the entire rebellion plot. So he reveals that he knew about the whole thing and he had already put a stop to it. And the reason Maximus had all this information, you might ask, is because Brooker was a double agent. Maximus planted him in the rings to get information. That whole faking his death, falling in love with Pharaoh, it was all part of the plan. So Grayson is finding out about all of this. First, betrayal number one, Mikkel is his dad. He has no time to process that because he then finds out that Brooker is alive. Then he doesn't even have time to process that because he's like, oh, not only is Brooker alive, but he's also a fucking traitor. So the rebellion plot falls away immediately. As Brooker comes up to the platform with everyone, he has Callum by what's the word I'm trying to say? The neck, and he has a gun pointed at him. So he's bringing him up to the platform. Lyra is begging Brooker to let him go, but he does not. They fall into a shootout. This is the final fight between good and evil. Everyone is shooting at everyone, and unfortunately, in the struggle, there is a casualty. We lose Callum. This hurt me so deeply because I love Callum. I liked him. He had the most flair. He was a little sassy. He was a little gay. I'm sorry, he was only a little gay in the first chapter that he appears in, but he was sassy and he liked Lyra and he was a good guy. It was really sad because he also died in a way where he couldn't even like fight back a little. It was a headshot. There was no way he was surviving that whatsoever. So he dies immediately. Lyra falls next to his body and cries because she lost the love of her life. And then Maximus has Grayson at gunpoint. Shadira is overwhelmed. Mikkel is overwhelmed. The rebels are quickly losing. Maximus is about to shoot Grayson when all of a sudden, Mikkel jumps in front of him and takes the bullet for Grayson. But that's not the only surprise. No. In the last chapter, an Uno fucking reverse card. Someone on this board comes out of the woodwork, out of the shadows, and turns the tide of the rebellion. Who is it? Alara. Alara uses her invisibility to an advantage. Up until this point, she has only been Maximus's shadow. No one ever noticed her. So she takes up arms and points the gun at Maximus. Not only does she point the gun at Maximus, but she takes out the Vera Guard that are holding Shadira and everyone else. At this point, Brooker has already taken Lyra away, so those two are no longer on this chessboard. Alara holds Maximus at gunpoint, and she's like, all this time, I've been silent and calculating, waiting for my time to strike, and that time is now. We also find out in this last moment that Alara goes by an alias, and that alias is the Python. If you'll remember earlier, that is the person that they rumored to have extracted from the heart. The book ends with Alara killing Maximus. To be continued in the sequel. And that is everything that happens in Daggermouth. This last chapter is such a whiplash for me. Like, I love a good twist, and I imagine that we'll learn more about Alara and her secret double life, how she knows how to shoot a gun, where she got all this training from, who she's been working with. There's so many unanswered questions. And I can give you that, like, we'll find out in the sequel. I just think it's a little too big of a bombshell to drop in the last chapter. Because I am telling you, nothing could have alluded to the fact that Alara was going to be the person to turn the tide of this war. And selfishly, I wish Shadira had more of a part in the rebellion. She was supposed to be their symbol, and at the end of it, she really didn't do that much. I wanted more for her. I wanted more for her and Grayson, this like duo of people. Ultimately, I have a lot of questions, and I am excited to read the sequel. I was just rather surprised with how this book ended. I was not really expecting it, but here we are. And in case you were wondering, the amount of sips that I took at the end of this video was 35. And I think I'm still pretty okay. Like, I'm not belligerent. I'm like, like maybe a little dizzy, maybe a little, whatever. I feel like I could be more like out of it, and I think I'm pretty on top of my shit. So once again, everyone ain't shit. I'm a god. Mind over matter. I can do anything I put my mind to. Hey, so this is the morning after my recording session. I'm fine. I'm doing great. I really don't feel that bad. Mind over matter, I really believe that my body started filtering it out pretty quickly. Even though I don't feel like I was really affected by my consumption of a beverage, I did realize a few minutes ago actually that I never actually talked about the controversies with this book, which I promised I would. So that's what I'm going to do now. So 2 main controversies. The first being the character art for Shadira. So it was established by H.M. Wolf, the way she was described in the books, just overall, that Shadira is a Black woman, okay? However, in a lot of the character art that people were creating and H.M. Wolf was sharing on her social medias, Shadira is depicted as a dark-skinned Black woman. Then, when Daggermouth was picked up for traditional publishing, they started coming out with special editions, particularly the Fae Crate special edition, which is what this image of Grayson is from. I didn't put up the photo of Shadira that Fae Crate provided because that was what sparked a lot of the controversy. Because it appeared that she was a little lighter than previous fan art had depicted her. So people kind of came out and said, why are we whitewashing Shadira, right? So readers, particularly Black readers, were very outspoken about this. Fae Crate had to make a statement where they basically said, hey, this art was approved. We went through all the necessary channels to make sure everyone was okay with it. The author is okay with it. We're gonna move forward. Naturally, a lot of readers were upset. They felt a little betrayed that Shadira's character art was not portraying her in the way she had been previously, especially because it was with these very big book boxes, these very important special editions. And not to speak for those readers, but I can imagine they felt like they were being erased, right? We have a very big book release that has a main character that is a woman of color. She is previously depicted as being dark-skinned, and now we see her kind of lightening up to her winter shade as she gains popularity in the mainstream. Now, as a person of color, as a Latina, I understand colorism. Colorism within the Hispanic community is very different, so I don't necessarily feel comfortable speaking on this issue. Like, I don't feel comfortable giving an opinion on saying like who's right and who's wrong. The only thing I will say is that I can understand why people are upset, and I empathize with that feeling of betrayal, because there's a sense that Shadira is perhaps being made more palatable so that she can be widely consumed by a predominantly white audience. I don't think I'm the best person to speak about this. I don't think this is my place. The only thing I will say is that, again, I empathize and I understand why readers are upset. I'm definitely not the one to be pointing fingers and to be assigning blame to anyone involved in this situation. That is just a basic summary of what happened and why there was a controversy on that end. Now, the other controversy, which I think I can speak on, is that there was an article published, like officially published, I think it was The Atlantic that put it out, basically accusing the author H.M. Wolf of using AI to write the book. Guys, I say a lot of stuff on this channel. I have said in the past, I'm a hater, but I'm never a liar. And sometimes, I'm kind of mean, okay? But if there's one thing when I'm reviewing a book is that I will never, absolutely never in any kind of serious way accuse a book of being written by AI. And the reason I would never accuse someone of writing a book with AI when I don't have proof is because you can't tell. I don't care what anyone says, you cannot tell. There is no clear sign that it was written by AI. And I love when people are like, no, you can tell because it doesn't make sense or it's very poorly written. Guys, with so much love in my heart, join a writer's group. Sometimes people write stuff and it's god awful, but it's purely human. They're like, okay, well, there's inconsistencies. Like this character will suddenly, people get stuff wrong. It's so much easier to tell in generated images because the mistakes are not human. Like AI will generate a picture of a person and give them 7 fingers. That's not like an accident, oopsie daisy, I made an art mistake. That's not something that a normal artist would do. So that's easier to tell. But with writing, like with the whole Shy Girl debacle, I never read that book. I really can't speak on it. But some of the reasons people were giving for why it was written by AI, they were like, oh, well, it repeats words a lot. Or they're like, no, everything they say comes in groups of 3s. That's a rule of writing. All good things come in 3s, do they not? I'm not saying that it's a good writing choice. I'm not saying to criticize a book for being too repetitive is not a valid criticism. It is. I'm just saying it's not always an AI mistake. It's not always an indicator of generative AI. Sometimes people write bad books. The absolute only way you can prove if a book was written with AI is if they leave a prompt in the book or the author admits to it. Again, anything that's wrong, any mistakes in the book, you can really dismiss as just being human error. So once again, I can never in good conscience claim that Daggermouth is written by AI because again, like I read the story, nothing pops out to me immediately because, once again, there is no clear indicator that a book is written by AI unless there's a prompt left in the book. And it's harmful to accuse people of writing with AI because you put them in a position where they have to prove themselves. Anything short of you seeing this person write out the entire book with your own eyes, like it's just not going to be enough. And I understand the concern. I don't like generative AI. If I found out that a book I love was written by generative AI, I would be pissed. And of course, I want to avoid that kind of content in any way possible. With that being said, we can't just go out and point fingers, especially when there are authors that have been so brazen about their use of AI. Like, truly divert your energy away from the witch hunt and focus all of that on the people that are actually open about it. Like, go bully them. End their careers. They're honest about it so they can accept the consequences of it. It's not a coincidence that the people that are getting accused of using AI without any real evidence are Black people, are Black authors. Truly, it saddens me that we try to take away so much from these authors when they finally make their big break and we try to illegitimize all of their success. Like, I'm sorry, I will just never entertain an argument that a book was written by AI. Also, I was listening to the Plot Twist podcast and Victoria Aveyard read the whole article. And apparently in the article, which you have to pay to read, by the way, it's not free, they give that bullshit headline just for the actual article to say like, well, we can't actually say definitively if Daggermouth used AI. That's crazy when we have a media literacy crisis. Of course, no one read the article and they were just going off the headline. That is so sick and twisted of them to do. I cannot possibly condone that. I cannot possibly let people tear down this woman just because she's popular. So that's what I wanted to say on those topics. I completely forgot about doing that because I was under the influence. So this is my mini morning rant. I will let my last night's self take it away. So anyway, that's the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know. Have you read Daggermouth? Are you interested in reading it after this fun little review I did? I would say let me know if you want me to do more like these, but I don't know if I can. Honestly, I feel good after my drinks. It hasn't been that bad. I'm okay. Anyway, you can also follow me on all my social media at Listen to Kristen on TikTok, Instagram, and Goodreads. That's the end of my video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Hope you guys have a good day. Don't drink. It's not fun. Don't do it. Thank you.